Welcome to the Power of Giving Circles. I'm Ann Myers, Gift Planning Officer for the Partnership for Better Health. Today we will learn how to strengthen our fundraising capacity, involve more people in supporting our organizations, and build upon our donor and volunteer relationships. As we seek to advance the goals of diversity, equity, and inclusion, giving circles are a meaningful way for organizations to raise more money, welcome new donors, and build positive relationships. Giving circles are a philanthropic tool that leverages charitable donations and encourages collaboration from many different people. By striving for a collective goal through donations raised from everyone, we can build a sense of belonging and achieve a greater impact. Giving circles are a way for everyone who has a passion for a cause to be supportive and included. Today we will hear from Janice Black, President and CEO of the Foundation for Enhancing Communities. She'll talk about giving circles and endowment. What's the difference? We'll hear from Paulette Kiefer, who's Executive Director of the Jewish Community Foundation of Central Pennsylvania. She'll talk about how giving circles work. And we'll hear from Dr. Marcellus Taylor, Director of Health Equity at the Partnership for Better Health. He'll talk about cultivating equity and inclusion through giving circles. Now we'll hear from Janice Black, President and CEO for the Foundation for Enhancing Communities. She'll talk about giving circles and endowments. What's the difference?
I'm going to talk a little bit about what is a giving circle, and then Paulette is going to talk much more about a giving circle. So, how many of you have a giving circle that you're working with now? Okay, so you're really here to learn about the giving circles. All right. Giving circles are really great. The foundation does not do them because we specialize in endowment. And when we had our Fund for Women and Girls, which is a big initiative that we have at the foundation, we gave them the choice of did they want to, it's a group of women, do they want to raise money and put it into endowment forever, or did they want to raise money and spend it out every year? And they decided that they wanted to have the perpetual fund. So that's the only reason that we have the Fund for Women and Girls in an endowment fund. So with the Giving Circle, it's really a group of people who come together every year for a special purpose to pool their dollars and then when everything, and have events to raise those dollars. And then at the end of the year, they get together and decide how they're going to give the dollars out for that particular purpose. It's as simple as that. So I know that you're going to talk much more about the details, but giving circles have existed. I have some facts here about giving circles that I think are interesting. They've existed through cultures. They've existed in cultures throughout history. Today there are around 2,000 giving circles across the United States. Which come together, where people come together to make collective decisions about where to share resources in this accessible, democratic, and relationship-based form of giving. So no one in that giving circle decides alone how the dollars are going to be spent. It is a group decision. And so everybody has a voice, and everybody needs to speak up and talk about how they would like the money to be given out. So anyone can start a giving circle around any focused community issue, or any group can do that. And they are often groups of friends or neighbors with shared values, and the majority of giving circles members in the United States today are women. So how about that? Marcellus, did you know that?
I did. I did.
I figured you did.
You're in my notes.
And by pooling their resources, members maximize the impact of their giving. So it's a really nice way to be able to give more than you can give yourself by giving with everybody else. They can also enjoy the personal connections that can be built by getting together with all their friends and coming together and talking about the decisions that have to be made for the giving circle. And giving circles often learn together about issues members care about. And in addition of giving money, members often volunteer together at the organizations they support. So many of them learn about new organizations and then can maybe get on their board or get on a committee and find a new organization to support. There are giving circles focused on just about every issue and community. There's the Asian Women's Giving Circle. I just think these are interesting. The Third Wave Fund hosts a sex worker giving circle. Amplifier creates and supports giving circles inspired by Jewish values. There's a large network of Latino giving circles at the Latino Community Foundation in California. And the Community Investment Network is a national network of giving circles focused on African American and community of colors, just to name a few. So in this country, they're all over the place. And you could probably find a giving circle to give to anywhere for any reason. So, I don't know, are my 15 minutes up?
3 more minutes.
Okay, I didn't get the sign yet. The number of giving circles in the United States tripled between 2007 and 16 as the word spread about giving circles, and I would probably say that it's even larger today. And I think probably during the pandemic, more people got together on Zoom and talked about their giving circles. Because I know a lot of things were happening on Zoom with folks during the pandemic doing charitable work. I just read something the other day that it was a statement about more charitable work happening during those years of the pandemic than they ever thought it would. And it was just a wonderful result of people being home, having time to think about things, and getting together on Zoom and doing work that way. So pandemic wasn't all that bad, I guess. So, giving circle can be formal or it can be very casual. It can be all volunteer or it can be staffed. I know that the Community Foundation in York has a giving circle for women, and they have people become members of the giving circle, and then they all come together, decide on a mission, and then they raise money on that mission during the entire year, and then make the check presentations at the end of the year. And always have a big party and invite everybody, and the community comes to see who got the money and what the purpose was. So it's just a different way. Endowments are more private, I guess you could say, and giving circles are certainly give you the opportunity to work together more than an endowment fund, although people can get together and start an endowment fund and raise money for it by having events, things like that.
Now we'll hear from Paulette Kiefer, Executive Director for the Jewish Community Foundation of Central Pennsylvania. She'll talk about how giving circles work.
Experience with a giving circle. My parents were very involved in our community and in our neighborhood. My father would shovel the snow for the older adults in our neighborhood, and he liked to fish, and when he would go fishing, on his way home he would stop at neighbors that he knew enjoyed it, that maybe needed some extra fish in their homes. And when he shopped, he did all the shopping. My mother didn't drive. He would go to our neighbors and ask them what do they need, and he would bring the groceries home, and he always brought home treats for all the kids in the neighborhood. Our neighborhood happened to have been built for mostly military veterans and their families. By the time we moved in, there were still a lot of those families, and many of those folks had not returned home. So we had single women with children, and my father did not only fish, but he taught a lot of those boys to fish. And when my mother would bake, she would often bake extra and knock on the doors of people and bring them something, a cake, what cookies, whatever it happened to be. And she would tell them, I just overdid it. I baked way too much, help me. I don't know what I'll be able to do with this, it'll go to waste. Well, you can imagine there were 5 of us, 5 children, and my parents. The looks on our little faces when the cookies and cakes were going out the door. So my parents decided they really wanted us to learn good lessons about how to be more like them, more concerned about our community, more helpful, more interested in not only sharing among ourselves, because those lessons were learned quickly, but sharing with everyone else. And my father decided that a family of 7, if he pulled out a 5-pound bag of potatoes and dumped them on the table, we could have a conversation about sharing with the community using the potatoes. So he sat us all down around the table, and again, 5 little children. His first question was, how many do we really need for ourselves? We have neighbors that need help. How many potatoes do you need? Well, 5 little kids are all looking at these potatoes, and they're seeing mashed potatoes with butter and French fries, and you pick it. We're envisioning good meals. So the first round, we all took too many. And my dad said, really, do you need that many? How much do you really need? We have hungry neighbors. And so our first lesson about how collectively we decide we're going to give something to our neighbors and help our community was around a table looking at some raw potatoes. So that's how it really started for us. They felt we needed a lesson in sharing. I believe that my parents and my family, my grandparents, my relatives, believe part of why I was always drawn to being involved in giving back and helping the community was because of those lessons. So that was my first experience with a giving circle. And I'm wondering if any of you had any kind of experiences with giving circles that maybe now that I've shared what one actually can look like, that you might have already experienced yourselves. If you've got any to share. If not, I've got some that maybe will pique your recall. So what I just explained is a thoughtful process. It's called philanthropy. It's what we're all doing. It's how many of us make decisions about how we give charitable gifts. We look at the needs, what's interesting to us, how we want to have an impact, how we want to maximize that impact. And giving circles can be a really great way to do that. And as you heard Janice say, it can be a great way to engage people with your organization. People who maybe they don't know how much they can give, or they don't have a lot to give, but they can give something. So one of the examples of circles that I've been involved with over the years is people could put in whatever amount they wanted to, and they were still part of the process. No one knew who put in how much. So there was no judgment going on about who has more and who has less. But it was really about shared causes and shared interests. And they all had one vote. One person, one gift, one vote about what we did with the money. And it was a thoughtful process collectively. And it was a great way to bring new people in the door that maybe didn't think they had a place with you, but found through this kind of opportunity that they do. And there are other giving circles where there's a set amount. I have seen circles where they pick a low dollar amount. I have seen circles where they pick a larger dollar amount. It depends on the purpose. And in our case, over the 30 years I've been doing this, I have seen a giving circle lead to building an endowment, something Janice described, where we initiated the circle, people participated, and eventually it led to we're giving away this much and we have this much we don't have to give away, and we're going to build that endowment so this particular cause is supported in perpetuity. So the opportunity was available to do it now and to make sure it lasted for the future. Did you ever read a story about a wealthy philanthropist giving something and you wished you could do the same? Many people have read those stories and wished they could do the same. Being part of a giving circle allows them to do more collectively, collective giving. And they get to feel really good about what they're doing, what they have accomplished, and they get to see something happen that's bigger than what maybe they could have done alone. So think about what your organization does. Try to connect it to people who care about those issues. Ask people out there, what do they care about? Because many of the circles I've seen over the years were initiated by someone with a good idea. Something that there was a need that they thought wasn't being addressed. We weren't addressing it. They brought the idea to us, and that's how we got started. It led to a lot of engagement. So I've seen families, as Janice mentioned earlier, siblings, friends, colleagues, religious groups. Think about affinity groups. Think about a group of attorneys, a group of doctors, a group of professionals, women, as Janice mentioned. Those individuals that maybe have shared interests and shared purposes. They can be an affinity group that works with you to start their own giving circle. They seem to like to be together. So if you don't have a group of medical professionals, or even break it down to different levels, a group of nurses, a group of doctors, maybe they want to be separate, think about those people and think about what is it that they might be interested in supporting that you haven't thought of, that is in line with your mission. And it can start a very small giving circle. I've seen families start a giving circle. It's family philanthropy at its best. You're helping them all work together to discuss, what they're interested in. It's an important question to figure out how those next generations are going to continue to be involved and support your mission. Because many of the younger generations aren't as quick to get involved as their parents were. So asking them to work together to discuss what they all care about face to face, you'll find they have different interests. But this is an opportunity for you to help them start a family giving circle in line with your mission that then can expand to other families. You start use the story. So you have a family that starts their own little giving circle. You use their story to inspire other families to do the same. It increases the level of engagement with your organization. It increases the level of support with your organization. And again, many of these people, they eventually create an endowment fund. That's a permanent resource for you, for something that's very meaningful to them. Religious groups do this. It's very common among religious groups. And if there's a religious group in your community that isn't connected to you, maybe they want to create a giving circle to support something you're doing that they can't do on their own. And so we have one particular giving circle. There are brochures back on the table. That is a very active circle. The woman was planning to be here to talk about this today, and for health reasons she was unable to join us. And it is called the Women of Vision Giving Circle. It was started in about 1971. I'm not exactly sure. She's much better at this than I am. She could talk for the entire hour about her giving circle. She started it with two women who understood that there was a need in the community to support women and children who were struggling and trying to find ways to take care of themselves and take care of their families. It's all very anonymous. We have religious institutions and social service agencies that anonymously send us applications. They identify the people that have the needs. They send the applications to us with the description of the need, and we have a committee of women that are part of this giving circle that need to review those applications, and then those women make their recommendations to the full membership. The membership now is about 140 women, more or less, and they all have a vote. All of those women vote on approving the grant applications and the amounts of money that we will distribute. This fund started out as just a very liquid fund, where the women are asked to put in $108 a year for 10 consecutive years, after which they can put more in if they want to. They can add any amount, and other women can add to it as well. During COVID, we found that there were many women who were single-parent homes that lost jobs and really needed help, and we found one of the largest funds that received money during the pandemic was this Women of Vision Fund, because people responded, and women throughout central Pennsylvania responded to wanting to help the women that were struggling to take care of their families. We had the largest number of grant applications come in ever during the pandemic to help these women that were struggling. And so we convened an additional process to make sure we got those grants out to help the women. And we do have 2 events, a social event that's purely educational and social, and the second event is the chocolate buffet, and it does have a social element, but it is primarily to talk about the grants and let people know the impact they have had with their giving. And on occasion, we have a recipient that likes to come forward and thank them. We don't ask people to do that, but every once in a while we have someone who will call and will say to us, I really want to thank everyone and let them know how they've changed my life. We discourage it because it can be uncomfortable for that person, but we have on occasion had someone who felt that strongly, and when they were back on their feet, some of them have actually become members of this giving circle when they were back on their feet. And as I said, this is a combination of giving money from the endowment and giving money separately as well. So it serves 2 functions. It's built the endowment over the years where we found we didn't need to grant all of the money. It was consistently put into an endowment. And we use a spending rule of 5% of the average market value over the previous 20 quarters. So that we're, right now we're in a fluctuation time frame. We see those ups and downs in the market. I have cautioned organizations to think about how you set your spending rule, because it's so important in down times that you have money to use. And if your spending rule is income only, as in the past many people thought income only was the way to go, in down times there's no income. And all of your friends who love to support you also have no income. They're struggling. So there's no money to take care of those people out there that you're helping. So with a spending rule, a percentage, as you heard Janice say, and as I'm sharing and I'm affirming, is so important. There's always money to support your mission. And what is your mission all about? Your mission is about doing something that feels good, to help people out there that feel bad, that need your help. Thank you to the partnership for this opportunity. Thank you to all of you for what you're doing.
Now we'll hear from Dr. Marcellus Taylor, Director of Health Equity for the Partnership for Better Health. We'll talk about cultivating equity and inclusion through giving circles.
Before I get into my notes, Paulette asked us to share our experience, our first Giving Circle experience. And as I was reflecting, mine, and this might seem grim, but my first Giving Circle experience actually happened growing up in West Philly. And if you know anything about most of West Philly, it's a lot of, the blocks consist of 2 sides of row homes. And so on mine, it's about 40 homes on Spring Street, the 5400 block of Spring Street. And my first Giving Circle is actually when someone died on our block. And it was not uncommon in my neighborhood that you went around, you had a little card, and before you got your card, there was this expectation that you was going to give some money for the repass, or something to give. And if it was an older person, whoever was taking care of them, you wanted to give them something. And I'll never forget my grandmother telling me, "Hey, Marcellus, go upstairs." Right, and I was well into counting the years, so she could have made it easy. But she said, "Give me a 20 and a 10." Right. And I knew where that meant. That means under her mattress, probably still to this day, there was some cash. Just because if the banks failed, whatever, and I can tell, if I went to West Philly, 5462 Spring Street, where my grandma lives today, if I went there, I'm sure there's money under her mattress, and probably a lot of it. That's just how she rolled. But I remember bringing it down. I was like, oh, is this enough? And she was like, yeah. And I think I accidentally brought down another 20. She said, oh, no, go put that back. So, but here's a 20 and 10. And she gave it to Miss Dot, who was kind of like the person always. Ms. Dot would write the resolution, so be it resolved. The neighbors at 5400, block of Spring Street. But that was my first experience with giving circles. And by the time she come through the block, it was not uncommon for her to have well over $1,000, right? So the food for after the funeral, because, and I'm sure a lot of other cultures do this, but the repast in Black community, it is as equal to the funeral. Right, it's a thing, and if the food is nasty, people will let you know. This is not what she would have wanted, right? They couch that in there. Oh yeah, I'm saying the repast is a thing, and most times you can smell the food from the repast in the basement of the church. So we're trying to celebrate this person's life, but I smell chicken, and I'm like, okay, how do I focus, right? And so I would just run downstairs and help my grandmom cook because it was easier that way. So that was my first experience, Paulette. Thank you for helping me remember that. I'm here to talk about cultivating equity and inclusion through giving circles. And I first want to start with a definition. The word give comes from the Old Norse word or Dutch word, really, that is givon, which is to allot. But it is not just a allotment for the day. It is essentially ascribing worth to, meaning that when we give, we're assigning what we believe something is worth. And if you've ever spent time in a country that has a bordering system, you'll discover back and forth. And for us Americans, sometimes when I was in Beijing, China, a lot of my collegiate friends, it was a group of us, we were in college, spent 2 weeks in Beijing. They were frustrated because they're like, just give me the number. And they're like, I'm not giving you nothing. You got to tell me. And we went back and forth. And the idea is that we ascribe worth to something. And I say all that to say is that when we talk about the power of giving circles, it starts with the identity that others deserve dignity. They don't have to work for it. One of the saddest tragedies, and I believe, and I'm saying this as a younger individual, but one of the saddest things about our national morale is we have built a system where you have to earn my trust. And that becomes dangerous because that could be subjective. Or you have to earn my dignity. Well, again, that becomes dangerous because that becomes subjective. But I believe rather it's a matter of ascribing a certain level of dignity to individuals, and we ascribe to them worth. And not that money will ever fully dignify them, because there's things that money cannot buy. But I believe you put your money where your mission is. We keep on saying put your money where your mouth is, but we actually need to put our money where our mission is. It was actually a great public theologian and social change advocate, Dr. John Fajan, who once said that our biggest issue is not the presence of our challenges, but rather the poverty of our imagination. I'll say it again. The biggest issue is not the presence of our challenges. We got a lot of challenges, right? We have a lot of challenges. I'm a father of a third grader, and looking at him this morning, I kind of snuck his room because he's at the age where it's my room. Alexa, tell Daddy to get out, and all that stuff. But I looked at him deeply still in this morning before I got on the road to come to Carlisle, and I thought that there are some parents right now who don't have that opportunity. Right. There are some parents in Uvalde, Texas, who don't have that opportunity. And I couldn't help but to think that our challenges are great, but greater than our challenges, I believe, is the poverty of our imagination. We are still stuck in an and/or model. And if you work at the partnership, you've heard me say it many a times, it's not and/or, it's and both. Right? We just don't. If my son fell in the middle of the street, I'm not just going to say, well, hey, let's fix the street problem. I'm going to have to address him too. I have to triage him because he doesn't really care that I'm doing estimates of how much it would cost to fix the pothole. What he cares about is that, hey, I'm bleeding out. And so we need an and/or approach. And I think what Dr. John Fajan is showing us is that we need a bigger imagination how to solve some of our societal woes. In health inequity, and in general inequity is present, very present. I don't think any of us deny that. But I believe that these woes can be solved by abundant imagination, and I believe giving circles can help that. Philanthropy can be used as a tool for cultivating equity. And I'm just writing. I like to give examples. So, for instance, there is an amazing clinic in Harrisburg. Y'all know I was going there, right? I'm biased, right? And I asked a group of friends. I'm going to show you this how it can be simple. I said, I need y'all help. I need y'all support them. When Marcellus, how you want to do this? I said to them, I need $300. That's what we're going to do. They said to me, that's too low. Come on, Mr. Abundant Imagination. And so I'm not trying to put it on the spot, and I'm not doing it for recognition, but I gave Deb, the executive director of the Beacon Clinic for Hope and Health, a check larger than $300 today. And I don't say that to brag. I'm saying that was just a group of friends who share one thing in common that said, hey, we're not going to use general funds from the organization we're a part of. We're all just going to raise it ourselves on behalf, blah, blah. And that's how simple as giving circles can work, right? And can you imagine, we talk about $108 a year, and it might not seem like a lot, but that actually grows to be something bigger and something more ferocious. And I know when I use terms like ferocious, like Marcellus, that's a bad word. No, I believe that the systems of inequity are ferocious, and so we need equally ferocious, if not greater ferocious systems of justice. Because if systems created inequity, it is going to take systems to break the back of inequity. And that's just my personal belief. We need systematic thinking. And so giving circles can be a source of imaginative tools that can be used for good. I'll give you an example. My good friend Janice took some of my notes, but it's okay. I'm joking. No, it's all good. I like messing with Janice. She has so much knowledge, and she made it easier. And because of Janice, she's going to give y'all about 5 more minutes back because I don't have to say a lot of stuff that I was going to say. In 2009, there was a group founded in Raleigh-Durham called 2020 Sisters of Vision, and they really help with health, economics, and education, women from all different backgrounds who deem themselves as sisters. And today, well over, 15 million in giving, where they started with, we just going to bake something for nursing homes, and we're going to have, money for girls who want to go to college. That's how it started, right? Then in New York City, you have the Asian American Women Giving Circle. You're about to notice a trend because when you look at diverse organizations giving, most of them are led by women, right? And I think that it's something to be said. And they work with really Asian American women artists and community groups to do some amazing stuff. Then you have Circle of Joy in Atlanta, who work with youth ages 5 through 18 in Metro Atlanta, and they have done projects about anti-violence and health awareness and things like that. But honestly, and the list goes on. Latino Impact, Our Future Together, Lift, the Sankofa Fund, which is right in Pittsburgh, and they do a lot of amazing work when it comes to the southwestern part of Pennsylvania and certain areas of Pittsburgh. And I always tell an example. I believe that giving circles in particular, have the ability to amplify voice in space. Here's what I mean. Is that when we're giving to organizations and we're giving for a certain cause, it's not just to amplify the voices of people who did not believe that they could be philanthropists. I throw this term out, and if in my friend group, when I mention that they are philanthropists, and a lot of them are because they give, they're like, well, wait, you gotta be wealthy to be a philanthropist. I just give, and I'm like, you do recognize that like 10% of everything you make, you give away in some way or another, whether it's a younger sibling or whether it's helping donate to a scholarship at Penn State. And they're like, wait, I am a philanthropist, right? And I think it's just changing the face of what philanthropy looks like. Because if I was to ask you before we presented, define or give me an example of a philanthropist, I can guess 90%, if you're honest with me, we have a specific gender, we have a specific ethnicity, and we have a specific age. And what I'm saying is that Giving Circles kind of helps break that mold. But not only does it amplify the voices of those giving, it amplifies the space of those being given to, right? And so, imagine that there's a group of community members to say, hey, we need more family physicians in our neighborhood, right? And by the way, PA has a shortage of family physicians. And so we need more family physicians, and this is just something that I don't know if this is real, but we need more family physicians. So we get a giving circle together, and we're able to raise $50,000 and say, hey, the only stipulation is that you work in a part of Pennsylvania for a matter of 4 years. Because colleges and universities have these stipulations, why can't a giving circle do that as well? Finally, I call this the Fidelity Five. I combine this from several sources, but Fidelity Financial was really helpful. And they say, I'm going to make sure, okay, good, I know where I'm at, I got you. So they say there's 5 things. We have to move from power agnostic to power aware, meaning that a lot of nonprofits and foundations are not fully aware that the power that they have. And so I believe, and I'm going to say something that might seem radical, but I believe the best solution is not by the experts, it's by those who are living in a particular situation. If we want to know how you feel, if we want to know how people experience homelessness, then we need to ask people in homelessness instead of assuming that we know just because we work with those in homelessness. I believe that the solutions to many of our problems are within the community, right? So we have to go from saying, oh, I don't know if I have power. You have power, and you have to be aware of that. And then we have to watch out, and here's a point, we have to watch out for the shiny penny, meaning is that a lot of times we only want to give to organizations that are already known, but there are some lesser organizations actually doing more quality work. And so not just going to, oh, this is a shiny penny, I'm going to go here, right? And so, for instance, I was a grad student when a particular storm hit a particular section of the Southwest and part of our country. And I asked a friend of mine who was from Texas, I asked her, I said, what's the best organization? She said, Marcellus, don't give to a particular larger one. Give to this food pantry. And I'm like, a food pantry to do disaster? She said, believe it or not, that they kept the name food pantry because of their mission, but they actually do disaster relief. They've been doing it. And when you go to their website, it's like, oh my goodness, right? They like all that they make. And so we gave to them. And they were just abundantly grateful. They were smaller, but they were more effective. And plus they were local. So they didn't have to have no one fly in. They actually knew the names of people. They said, oh, this went to Miss Rita, instead of, oh, this just went to a neighbor. No, this went to Miss Rita, and this helped her get her home back. Also, address the root cause of social issues. And sometimes, we believe that we only could give to the symptoms, but I believe we also can give to the root. How do we address those root causes? And that ties into, flexibility, flexibly funding organizations, meaning that your giving circle should be rooted in real change and not change that we necessarily want to see. And here's what I mean is that oftentimes we say, well, this type of giving only could be spent on this particular thing that you might be interested in. And case in point, some people say, well, it can't be spent on administrative costs, but in some cases it has to be, because if I'm funding a community for a community nurse, the salary is going to do good, but according to the stipulations of that particular given, I can't give to an administrative position. So now I have to find another way, as my grandma would say, rob Peter to pay Paul, right? And then, keep on learning and collaborating. Finally, if you know that I believe in music. And so instead of playing it, I'm just going to read you these lyrics of a popular song. And it says, I was standing by my window one cold and cloudy day when I saw the hearse come rolling for to carry my mother away. And that's the song, Will the Circle Be Unbroken? Here's the point, is that the person who was the main character in this particular song, they were sad because the circle, hence giving circle, was broken because someone that they love was in dire need, and in this case, dead. And what I'm saying is that the power of giving circles to enhance equity is that it actually bridges the gap. It takes away the collective pain and trauma that may have been caused, and it helps us close that circle. So the question is, in the lyrics, will the circle be unbroken? But my greater question to you is, how can we close the inequity gaps by giving circles? So thank you so very much. Thank you.